If you're not open to change, I hope you're really happy with being irrelevant. Because if you don't change, you'll just get left behind. You need to be the thought leader in your community. You need to be able to, grow and take advantage of opportunities that are out there. It's not the end when the election happens. It's beginning, because you know more about what you need to do to help people in retirement.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome into Ready, Set, Grow Strategies for Financial Advisors. Another good one as we continue our push here at Impact to focus on the election and not just the lead up to it, but kind of transitioning into what's next for financial advisors as we kind of dovetail into November and pick up the pieces and kind of make sense of what all is happening. With me to do it, Michael Pyro, one of our chief marketing officers here at Impact, and kind of a sage, someone who's been doing this for a long time. I know.
Wow. All right.
Well, I mean, I see it firsthand. I see other marketing strategists go to you and ask you questions. I know I lean on you when I have a question.
It's the nicest way I've been called old ever.
Thank you. That's high praise. Yeah. And I think advisors are leaning on you this time of year a little bit as well, because it's not necessarily unprecedented. We've had presidential elections, and chances are every financial advisor that you're working with has been through one of these before. But they do feel a little bit different. They do feel like there's a lot riding on it, and every election feels like it's the last. It's the most important one since the last one, right, kind of thing. So just right off the bat, what are you kind of advising for your advisors going into the election as we're closing on less than a month away from actual election day?
Sure. Talking to my advisors about it's election season. It's not just the election. The election's coming up in less than a month. So if you're trying to do live events, you've missed your window. But it doesn't mean we're done talking about it, because there's such an overlap of October, November being some of our largest annuity selling months because of topics and everything. And then until the election on top of that, there's a natural opportunity there when the interest is at its highest, with an election on top of it, that you need to be the thought leader in your market. There's everything that they're talking about in the election and post-election and leading up to the first 100 days is going to be about market volatility. It's going to be about changes in Social Security. It's going to be about inflation. It's going to be about all the stuff that we market protection. So everything that we're talking about with advisors is going to carry through for so much longer. And we want to set advisors up to be the thought leader in their market over this, because if they're not doing it, someone else is.
Right before we started rolling, you kind of gave me that same pitch, and the one word that you used was synergy. So what's like the connective tissue, I guess, that kind of joins this election news cycle and everything that they're covering versus what financial advisors are talking with their clients and prospects on a daily basis?
It's just a straight overlap. It's just a straight exact. What we want to help people protect people from is what they're talking about the election. So when that topic is out there, huge like it is, we want to make sure that our clients know that we are your partner through this entire process, and really forever. And it's such a unique proposition to introduce people to who we are and what we do as financial. I'm talking like I'm a financial advisor, but like financial advisors are, you're not used to someone sitting with you side by side, talking about how this happens here, so we take this action to help you in retirement. We do this here, so we do, and this happens over here. It's not just buy and sell stuff. It's a true retirement partnership all throughout that to help people understand if things change, I got your back. We'll talk about it together. We'll be on the same page. And it's just such a high level of conversation that we need to get in there and make sure to reinforce that with people that we know and introduce ourselves to people who don't know about that. That's where the real opportunity is, because full service financial planners who do retirement planning is such a unique, I don't want to call it a niche, but it's just not as talked about as it should. So now's the opportunity to get that message out.
What do you say to the advisor that wants to bury their head in the sand and kind of wait till all this blows over and get back to the normal day-to-day?
Well, as someone who has been through a lot in their life, I have heard that if you're not open to change, I hope you're really happy with being irrelevant. Because if you don't change, you'll just get left behind. And that's true, not just in this, it's a life statement. I'm really getting into it deep, and we're digging deep. It's not quite therapy yet, but we'll get there if we keep talking. But if you don't change, you're going to get what you always got. So if you need to change, you need to be the thought leader in your community. You need to be able to, grow and take advantage of opportunities that are out there. And this opportunity, like I said, is going to last post-election. I have an advisor doing a post-election mailer. He's doing it on the November 7th, 2 days after the election. And he's talking about What do different party affiliations do with the stock market after the election? Is there going to be another Trump bump, or is there going to be a little tightening of it? Is there going to be proposed changes to Social Security, and how do you react to that? Like it's not the end when the election happens, and that's the message we're rolling with right now. It's not the message. It doesn't end. It's beginning, because you know more about what you need to do to help people in retirement. So this is talking about webinars. This is talking about mailers. This is talking about newsletters, town hall meetings, everything that you can do to get the vote out still after the election. I think it's going to be really important to stay in front of people.
Before we shift to the kind of the different phases of the election cycle for a financial advisor, when we focus on that lead up to it and the pre-election stuff, do you think it's too late for an advisor to try and put together some sort of in-person seminar covering the election when we're, 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out?
You could do something in your office if you have a nice space in your office. Like you have a little meeting center on one of your floors, a conference room that can hold some people. Yeah, you could probably do something real quick if you invite some people out, do a kind of plan appreciation event, have some food catered in, bring some referrals in, and have this, hey, we got your back kind of conversation, and they can bring referrals into that. Or you could do a webinar version of that, because we do still have our election PowerPoint and mailer with a lot of bullet points on it. So you could do something virtually. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities right now, but there's still plenty of time for social media. To get it out there. Plenty of Facebook posts, email blasts, newsletters through Snappy Kraken. There's a bunch of great information to be distributed out there. Our infused content was rock solid this month, all about the election. So there's plenty of bomb video scripts in there. We are great content builders here. Mm-hmm. And we are really getting awesome at distribution, which is why we're doing our podcast program, which is why we're doing things like this to help get the message out there.
Do you find that, the mindset shifts for a financial advisor when you're in this really, really close to the election, that you're no longer necessarily mining for new clients? You are touching base with your existing client database to let them know, hey, I'm here for you.
It should be. There's a surprising amount of advisors who don't want to touch the election at all. It's too much of a hot button. It turns people off. And I'd say you probably just need to work on your verbiage on it, because it's not about one side or the other. If you find yourself saying, hey, my community is too hot button on this issue, we don't talk about it because we're afraid of starting arguments. That's not what it is about. It's about the topics that both parties are talking about and how you prepare for it.
Let's get into sort of the phases of the election then, because we've kind of covered this pre-election, what you can do, but that post-election, November on into December, those are ripe for events, right? And the planning for that begins now, obviously, right?
Yep, absolutely. ABC, always be closing, right? You hear that all the time. Always be marketing. Always get your lead funnel as full as possible. Yes, there's going to be some times where late December, early January, it just doesn't make sense to spend $7,000 on a mailer. But there are alternative marketing strategies for lead generation during that time period. There's digital leads. There's more sensitive referrals. There's different things you can do to do events during that time period. People who shut it down as soon as November hits because they're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
This time they spend trying to ramp back up again to those 10 first appointments a week that equates to full-time business for them. They're not doing that again until like mid-February. And it's scary. Some advisors, you can see their sales cycles go up and down like this, but the people who know how to make money have a plan for every single month. Now the spend may change, and that's fine, because all marketing is, spend versus effort. If I spend a lot, I have less effort. But if I'm not spending as much, I got more effort. So during the times when I'm not spending as much, let's talk about some boots on the ground marketing strategies to get you people in front of, to make sure that you're having a lead flow through the entire process.
I got to think the scary part for a financial advisor to host an event November, December about an outcome that you don't know about yet is the uncertainty. And it's how do I know? I don't have a crystal ball. I tell people that all the time. I don't have a crystal ball, but the flow chart of if this happens, then this. Mm-hmm. So how should a financial advisor kind of approach that uncertainty of whether who wins or loses, what that event should look and feel like in November and in December?
Well, it's easy because we've already done it.
Oh, hey, who put that there?
I don't know. It just kind of showed up here. But if you want to hear, this is a seminar mailer that's going to go out for after the election. So all these topics work. The topics are going to be Social Security reforms, party differences in the economic growth, post-election market reactions, potential inflationary pressures, and rebalancing. All that stuff is going to be so top of mind. and we've already got the topics written for it, we can just pivot from pre-election to post-election. And we've got all the content, which we are great content providers, done already. So keep talking, keep marketing.
But it still is. I mean, do you view it as like a flow chart almost of like, I know I've used that word a couple of times, but I'm curious to know if that's how you view it as well, of like how an advisor needs to be prepared for it.
I think they should always have a plan. So you have an election strategy we'll call it in a box. Election's coming. I'm going to do email signatures, voicemails, oh, by the way, messages, my social content, my seminars, my client appreciation events, all around a specific topic. So we should have an item in a box. Okay, post-election, in a box strategy. My team, this is what we're doing. This is your job, your job, your job, and my job of how we're answering the phones, how we're talking to people, what messages we're putting out. So everybody's on the same page in the office. So it's post-election, great. This is what happened. This is what we're preparing for. And everyone's on the same page for it. First 100 days, it's going to be printed. It's going to be on paper. Here's our goals for the first 100 days. And that's going to be a great webinar. That's going to be a great social media content. That's going to be great topics of conversation of this process. And one thing that isn't mentioned yet is a lot of this for our AUM clients, it's all about client retention as well too. When the volatility is high, people get nervous and things happen, you need to be in their email boxes. You need to be videos in their front of them. You need to be talking to them, because client retention, I think, is something that's not talked about enough, but it's a nice plus to what we're talking about here.
So how's that done for an advisor for that client retention standpoint?
It's not just sitting on the people that you've already made money on. It's making sure that you know that everybody in your book, not just there's a prospect database and there's a client database. You need to make sure you're nurturing your client database just as hard as you're nurturing your prospect database. And you got to have communication strategies for both. You got to be able to tag them all in your CRMs. You need to export them as different levels and different groups. And that's the level of organization we're talking about with our advisors, is making sure that you have specific messaging to specific groups to make sure that you stay in front of them.
I'm hearing that tracking component and that knowing, oh boy, I know your number. Don't get me started on that. And then also the common thread that I'm hearing, and we kind of talked about this when we were walking back to the digital studio, was the plan in case of an emergency. I think you use the emergency box, the break in case of emergency glass box. But the stuff that you have kind of formulated around the election is no different than, when a big hurricane is coming, natural disaster or anything like that, is that stuff shouldn't catch you so off guard, and it shouldn't catch your team that off guard, because you're communicating that point with them.
We should have what I would call an attack matrix. Okay, here's a list of absolutely everything that we could possibly do if World War III breaks out, or natural disasters eventually, or stock market crashes, or whatever. Like, you should have a plan in the box so that you're not sitting down having to brainstorm this thing while everyone else is off and running with it. You need to be first on everything that you can be first on. So if you have a plan already, people know what it is. You break in case of glass. You remember this: your responsibilities, your responsibilities, your responsibilities. Get it done, get it done, get it done, get it out. Communicate. Events, podcasts, webinars, whatever. Be first whenever that happens. You need to have an in-the-box break in case of glass strategy for a number of different topics.
Be prepared and make sure the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. It sounds like that's what I'm hearing about from a team standpoint. And then the last phase, that first 100 days, we're in kind of one of those unique spots where it's a new administration no matter who wins. There's no incumbent kind of coming into it, because Kamala's kind of painted her camp as, hey, we're new too. Everything's new. Mm-hmm. So with that first 100 days, what's the advisor? Because that's 2025. That's next calendar year. But the planning starts now. And what's that look like?
It's going to look just like it looked leading up to. So late August, September, October, early November is where our advisors almost make their year. Mm-hmm. It happens one other time in the beginning of the year. And now you put the first 100 days on top of that. You're in another unique situation where you've got your late January, February, March, early April events, where it's going to be another opportunity to make your year. So if you're not prepared for that huge opportunity, you're missing the boat. And it's not too early to start planning for it, because we have the information, we have the content, we know what we can do. When that first 100 days get out, you better bet your bottom dollar Impact's going to be pushing that out.
Yeah.
We're going to have white papers around it. We're going to have podcasts around it. We're going to have how-to guides and how to take advantage of it. And we're going to want to make sure that you have a social media calendar that flows along with it. And everything that Impact does, and Morgan Jimerson and her her podcast, no, not podcasting, but the social media program is just gonna be taking advantage of all that stuff. And it's an opportunity for us to really show you what kind of partner we are. And I think that's where advisors who give us the keys to the car, let us be your partner on this stuff. Let us really dig into your practice and show you what other advisors are doing and give you the content for distribution. Don't just let me have the once a month phone call with you. Call me every week, every day, whatever it takes to make sure that you're taking full advantage of what we have to offer. I think in the first 100 days, we have a unique opportunity to really show what we can do for advisors.
Yeah, I think the all-in advisors that are here with Impact would probably echo that sentiment about what giving the keys to the car really means and what that entails with the advisors that are with
We're
Impact.
just borrowing the car. We're not taking the car. Yeah.
Good clarification.
Yeah.
I'm glad you pointed that out. So real quick, obviously the election is not the only thing that's happening. Advisors shouldn't be doing only election focused stuff January, February. What would be like the breakdown? Could you say 60-40, 30-70 of what January, February, March should look like from an event
So if we're
standpoint?
looking like November, December this year, I love our year-end financial checklist. 25 different topics of how to close out your year successfully. People are using a countdown on social media from 25 to number 1. They're doing webinars around it. There's plenty of information there that's not election-based, but it's great content towards the end of the year. How to conduct successful holiday parties and client appreciation events and new client referral dinners and setting up for a client advisory board that you want to launch Q1. There's so much that we do that we should be having a 2025 marketing planning call with your office. And the entire Impact team should be on there. And we should leave that meeting with a very clear plan of how we're going to attack the end of this year and attack the beginning of the first of the year. Doesn't even have to be about the election because taxes are such a topic during the first half of the year leading up to April. Everyone's worried about taxes. They're getting their W-2s, all that stuff. So if you don't want to do election, fine. If you want to take a little bit of election and put it in there to just boost up some of the stuff you're talking about, that works too. So you can choose your own adventure here. You can choose to stay out of it and we can still help you be successful. Add a little bit, absolutely. You want to be all in? Let's go. We'll have some fun with it. So there's a lot of different ways to play it.
Yeah, one thing that I've heard from you is being a resource. I think financial advisors probably need to approach the election season the same way as being a resource for their clients. One other resource that we've got is our YouTube channel, a shameless plug. I apologize for none of it, though.
Hey, what's it called?
Our Impact Partnership YouTube channel. We've got House Rules starring the incomparable Alex House. We've got Ready, Set, Grow, the podcast. Obviously, you're here. Thank you for watching. And then also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Selling with Stories with Randy Cook, who has gone over a lot of one word you said was you got to fix your verbiage. If you're scared to talk about the election, you need to fix your verbiage. That's something that Randy really dives into on Selling with Stories and figuring out the way to best position how you want to talk about something so that you're not shutting somebody out or you're not losing them right away and having difficult conversations and being prepared for that. So, Pyro, I hope this wasn't a difficult conversation.
Yeah, it's fun. That's what I do.
Hey!
I love talking for a living. It was great.
Pyro had fun. This is his 5th time doing it. I think he gets a sub, but we'll check with Cam after to see who gets the sub and who qualifies and what punch on the punch card this is. But Pyro, once again, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Hey, like and subscribe too while you're at it.